What's up, everybody? Dan here, Crypto Capital Ventures, September 7th, 2018. I haven't done that intro on a live. Oh, look at this. I'm getting an ad on YouTube. That's a great intro. Sorry, everybody. Eric 3.0, what's up? So if you're a replay viewer, as always, I will leave timestamps in a pinned comment if you want to go right to technical analysis. We're going to really talk about Bitcoin, the potential of it bouncing back, why it might bounce back at these levels or maybe even a little bit lower. And we're just going to really just have some fun with the charts. I had to do a live stream tonight. I know I've been getting some comments that some people, they're just not fans of the live stream because they're longer. And I apologize for that, but sometimes, you know, like it's Friday, I just got out of my last meeting and I'm getting ready to go out to dinner with Sarah, and this really helps me with time because I don't have to edit this. I can just end this and go out to dinner. So that's what I will be doing. That's what the live stream's all about. So I'm just gonna go over a little piece of news and then I'll jump into the charts, but I'll give it a couple minutes as we get some people in here. Like we have Eric, we have Crypto Ross, Izzy, Kevin Romaine, what's up? Happy Friday, Kevin. Turbo Rod in California. In 1 week from now, I'm going to be out there with you, Turbo Rod. Are you going to the summit? Let me know. Camilla Gagatech, what's up, Camilla? Welcome. Bitcoin in the house. So I have a PSA, public service announcement. Eric 3.0 says live stream is better than no stream. Hello from Northern Ireland. What's up, Northern Ireland? When you think we will get to all-time highs? Man, that's a big question on everybody's mind. Private pilot. I just don't know. I know I want to get to all-time highs, as does everybody else. What's up, Bruce? So, PSA, public service announcement. Here it is. Very important. Litecoin Moses, he said it perfectly. Imagine a 40 trillion market cap and being able to say you were here when it was 200 billion. I wasn't here when it was a 2 billion market cap. Imagine a $40 trillion market cap and being able to say you were here when it was a $200 billion market cap, right? People will think you're lying, but you'll have the Twitter feed to prove it. That's so true, man. Great tweet by Litecoin Moses, and really, it's a public service announcement. Not only to say congratulations for being here so early and invested in the markets if you are, but also to say you better get a Twitter feed so your friends and family will believe you when we have a $40 trillion market cap, like Litecoin Moses says. So I love it. Peter Slater says, are you expecting a rise during the summit? Not really. I'm not expecting anything crazy for Litecoin for price. I don't think the summit's going to move price at all, but I don't know. I could be wrong. Paul says Bitcoin's going to 1,000. Dang, Paul. I mean, we might have some downside still, but I don't think it's going to 1,000. So I quickly wanted to go over this piece of news, and we'll get into the charts. You might have seen it. This article from yesterday. Trump's new SEC commissioner means Bitcoin ETF will happen. I think that's kind of a ridiculous headline. This probably is going to be the last time I talk about ETFs on this channel for now, because I'm just sick of hearing about ETFs. I am. So a Bitcoin exchange traded fund will happen following the appointment of new Securities and Exchange Commission head Elad Roisman. An anonymous analysis claims road to green light may begin with Roisman. So you can see there will be a Bitcoin ETF at some point. The analysis, which appeared on Medium under the name of Atlas Shrugged character John Galt, forecast September 4th. The effect it will have on the perceived legitimacy of the market, on bringing in institutional money, and ultimately on the price of Bitcoin will be staggering. Time will tell, but it just may begin today with the confirmation of Elad Roisman as SEC commissioner. So cryptocurrency markets had become less interested in the recent spate of SEC rejections of ETF applications. I mean, I really am. I've become less interested. Have you guys? I'm curious. Out of an original 9 candidates, all received rejections, with several now due to be re-examined and a final decision delivered at various points in the future. The VanEck Solid X physical ETF could get the go-ahead next March, Galt notes, but the timing remains loose and opaque. Nonetheless, Roisman has already signaled his desire to focus regulatory attention on cryptocurrency's fair treatment. So Aid Key says skip this. I'm sorry. I knew it. I debated even talking about it. I'll close it right now. I'm sorry. So, Crypto Capital Venture, I tweeted, I said, and I'm just bringing this up because it makes me feel good. It gives me the warm and fuzzies. He said in a comment, well, I said, looks like Joe bought the dip because I got a comment yesterday. Dan, learning a lot about TA from your videos. Thanks to you, I was able to recover my Litecoin losses during this latest dip. Love you, man. And that made me feel good because that's my approach to the market. And that's why I do my technical analysis mainly. It's not to get everybody all hyped up and bullish and, you know, dream with you guys. Although we do dream on this channel, right? We dream of all-time highs. We talk about it. We look at the upside. But it really is to talk about the downside, right? Buying the dips, the opportunity in buying the dips. And I liken it to, instead of me buying all my real estate before the 2008 market crash, I would have been the cool guy buying all the cheap real estate from guys like me who bought the expensive real estate before the crash. And that's what I look at buying the dips as. And that was partly a huge lesson I learned. So appreciate that comment from Okie Joe, but buying the dips. And there it is. You can see on the weekly chart on Bitcoin, a bunch of dips. You really can see a bunch of dips. You can see a bunch of lower highs being formed over the months, and we've been in it through thick and thin. One thing I wanted to point out was we talked about, like, I remember when we were doing this technical analysis leading up probably from this down area, talking about a potential next lower high right around here, right? And I remember kind of just bringing up to everybody that I was looking at these lower highs and really how far they are from each other. And you can see, like, this one is 15% down from this one. This one's 15% down from this one. And that's really why we had this really crucial area of resistance right here, right kind of in that 15% area. So on the weekly chart, it's around a 13% from previous lower high resistance. So really interesting trend there, and something I like to keep an eye on even moving forward as we see this crazy increased consolidation in Bitcoin. And the other thing I really wanted to pivot over to in terms of weekly is we can start on the 2014-2015 chart and really kind of get a sense of the end of that bear market, because the title of this video is Can Bitcoin Bounce Back? I think the short answer is, of course, yes. Obviously, that's kind of a stupid question. I think the more important answer is, will it? But the answer to can it is yes, and it probably will. That's really the answer. The big question is when. I'm sorry. So going back to this bear market, I'm keeping an eye on something that is really in process of happening, and that's really what I wanted to talk about in this video. So I'm going to get my little brush, and you see I have this box outlined, and that box is really indicative of this, could you call it a quadruple bottom? 1, 2, 3, 4. We kind of bounced around four times in this area. I think that's around 38 weeks or something, I believe. And we finally had a breakout. But when you compare that end of that bear market after the same type of thing, same type of lower highs, same type of consolidation. You like my green brush, Crypto Ross? I'm always trying to remain bullish, even if it's subliminal. I want to give you guys that subconscious bullish feeling. So that's why I use a green brush, and that's my secret. I guess I can change the color if it's hard to see. So illustratively, at least, here's the bear market. Here's that box with this quadruple looking bottom, and then here is this box, and it's really completely illustratively. I want to really kind of compare the two, that bear market bottom to where we are now, because right now it's really kind of bullish to see, and until it breaks, we can keep calling it bullish, in my opinion, is the fact that and I'm going to try it out because one of my viewers suggested it, is this purple brush. So you can see we have two hits on this bottom support area, which is, for starters, nice. Many will argue that support gets weaker when we get touches like that over and over, but what you can see happened in end of that bear market last time is we got 4 and we saw some strength and then we had a bounce. So something to look at as we get this continued consolidation and it gets tighter and tighter is another bounce, right? I mean, obviously this is a perfect bottom, double bottom here. It's not the same exact price, but it's very, I mean, we wicked down to very close range, right in like that $5,800 area. So it could be a nice area to look at for support in terms of where Bitcoin might bounce off of next on the downside. And also, if you want to really look on the bearish downside, if we break that, if we break these areas, $5,800, that's something to look out for on the downside as well. But we can pivot over to the daily now and really dig into like what we're looking at, like where are we? So we have a bunch of things going on. We've obviously done a great job in terms of, you know, like we just saw that I tweeted, you know, Joe said he made some money in this last dip because we started talking about that dip right up here. We started talking about getting that dip right there. And the purple, I don't know if I'm feeling the purple, Ross. I just don't know. We're going to have to change that. But I don't see, I'll change it later. So we started talking about that dip right at $8,100. And we got it. And we got this last dip. So in terms of where we're looking for support and resistance next, it's probably the most important thing to look at. Obviously, we have our really key support, and it can be bullish support. Just because, like we just mentioned, if we get support in this channel right here, we really have this triple bottom looking pattern in play, and we can get a bullish bounce off of that. And it can be indicative of a true bottom for Bitcoin, even if we get further consolidation. I mean, it was, and we'll revisit the bear market, it was indicative even back here, this third bottom in Bitcoin. It painted the picture of the actual bottom after this downtrend for Bitcoin. It just took a while before, you know, we actually broke to new highs. It took a while for that. So just because we might be forming a bottom right now, I throw out the word patience all the time on Twitter because we might need a lot of patience. It might not be as long as the bear market last time, but it could be weeks and it can be months of waiting at these areas and even testing this $6,000 area. So very important to have patience in this market as we test this area for now. So we're looking at this channel right here, and what's really interesting about this channel is you can see a couple of things happening, and we can use our awesome Fibonacci now that we've created a new lower high. We can use our Fibonacci, and we've been using it. I almost feel like I'm cheating because we've been using it so nicely over the course of the last weeks and months in terms of predicting supports and resistances. I'm not even sure that's a word. So we can take that previous low and then we can take it to this swing high, this lower high, and we can check out where's that Fibonacci. And you see the 786 lies right above this key channel for this triple bottom. And Sarah just poked her head in. You can come say hi. Sarah wants to say hi to everybody.
Hi everyone.
Like I said, we're getting ready to go eat some dinner.
Yes.
We're
okay?
Mexican, right? It's Mexican, right?
Yes.
We're getting Mexican, one of our favorite restaurants. Sarah's not Mexican.
No, I'm not. I'm Colombian.
Sarah's Colombian. I just know people were going to ask.
Yes. Well, I hope everyone is having an awesome Friday night and enjoying watching the Ant's video. And yeah, enjoy your weekend. I just wanted to come here and say hi, and maybe we'll do this introduction, right? I'm doing an intro soon, so. Johnny
Litecoin gave you a free shirt, and we promised to do an intro with it.
Yeah, so we'll be doing it soon.
Someone just said that's one way of saying hurry. Assad Harari.
It's okay. No, you're not in a hurry. It's for yours for a little bit, guys. Bye.
She's just being nice, everybody.
No.
All right, I'll be out in a little bit. Or unless you want to finish technical analysis. All right, you come finish technical. Just kidding.
Yeah, right.
She doesn't want to finish technical analysis. Okay, so back into technical analysis. So as I was saying, the 618, and I'll paint, actually I already painted the channel. It's already there. No, it's not. Let's paint the channel here for everybody. get a rectangle. So the 618, which we've actually just, I mean, we're right in the middle of really, to the 786. Always that key channel to look out for that we always talk about. I drew it right there. Now I'm going to get rid of the Fibonacci because it's making a mess. So you can see this channel for me is my initial first area of support for Bitcoin. And you can see Bitcoin, it slowed its roll. And we called this, you know, right up, I forget what the price was, but I think it was 6,700 or 6,900. We called the 6,400 as support because of this channel and also because of a couple of other things, overextension from moving averages or whatnot. And we did, we got support right above 6,400 right now. So it's good to see that. It's right in line with this Fibonacci channel of support. So what we'll obviously talk about is, well, on the upside, if we see support here, what's going to happen? But on the downside, like what's that next area of support? And I kind of opened with that in the technical analysis on the weekly, basically talking about this potential third bottom, this triple bottom happening right in this bullish support area. And I call it bullish support because if nothing more, what we might get from it is a nice bounce up, right? Like we've gotten the previous two times. It's, you take historical data and technical analysis and you say, hey, if we see that same type of move, same type of support, what's something to anticipate on the upside? Well, that's what I would anticipate on the upside. And the whole goal of this is to limit your risk, or at least allow yourself to enter the market with nice risk exposure, something you're comfortable with. It's way different for everybody else. Somebody right now could be like, no, I'm going to get in here. And it could be a little bit riskier to get in here before seeing support down here, obviously. But it really depends on what you're looking at, what your finances look at. And honestly, it really just depends on what you want to do. It doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. It really doesn't matter what I'm doing. So we have that 786 retracement. But the other thing to keep in mind is you have this massive pullback that happened last time, right? And really, that was basically 100%, you know, from this previous low up to here, down back to here. That's really 100% retracement. So right now we can look for something very similar from that previous bottom. So it's really something to look out for in terms of support. That $58,000 to $6,000 area is something to look at. So one more downside scenario, and then we'll talk about the upside for Bitcoin. But the next downside scenario is, well, what if that bullish support level, that triple bottom support level breaks? What next? Well, for me, and I've been talking about this a lot, that next level for me is that 200 overextension from the 200 EMA area. When Bitcoin does break crucial support, that's usually what we see in a new low type of scenario. So that looks like, and we can get the price range, that basically looks like from the 200 EMA, you know, down to that $5,500 area, right around 25% overextended from the 200 EMA. And for me, the way I do my charting, the way I follow Bitcoin, that 25% overextension is huge for me. Sometimes it might go up to 30, even 35% overextended, but I mean, like all the time almost, it always gets a nice strong pullback, a nice strong like snap back. So I'm just going to throw this out there. Anything at $5,500 or below is a phenomenal area, even if you want to do a short-term trade. That's not financial advice. This is just me, my outlook on the market. That's my opinion. Anything below that area, overextended that much from the 200 EMA, is bound to get a bounce. Even if it's a bounce back up to like $6,200, it's still a beautiful bounce if you're trading it. So something to keep in mind is that area. That's like that third support area right around $5,500. Keep an eye on that if Bitcoin breaks and we start forming a new low and the markets get really messy. It's crazy. As the market continues to go down and we don't, like everybody I remember was getting very excited about this last increase. A lot of people thought that was it and we're gonna do it. We're gonna make some moves. And it's crazy to see we had this massive pullback the last few days, and everybody, not everybody, a lot of people on Twitter, on YouTube, everywhere in the comments, pretty depressed, and you can really see the market is depressed. So Nathan Chorley says, you offer nothing to back up what you say. I mean, I literally actually offer hundreds of videos, Nathan, if you want to go check out and take some time to go through all the videos I've done. And we've made some awesome calls. And I really don't, I don't sit here and try and defend myself and say we make predictions and they're always great. But I think we've done a really good job of predicting, or at least anticipating, downside dips. So if you know you're calling me out to defend myself, that's how I'm going to defend myself. But you have to take the time to go watch my videos, which, I mean, that could be pretty boring. I could think of better things you could do on a Friday night. So that's that. That's Bitcoin. Now on the upside, I have upside resistance. I would look at that 618 that we looked at before, which really is a crucial area. And I need to get rid of. I'm gonna clear this chart because it's like way too much for me. Okay, so if you guys remember, and I'm sure you do, we had this previous lower high down to this bottom. So when we were in that last uptrend, we had this channel of 618 to 786 right here. We talked about it the whole time as we came up, right? And now I'll get rid of this. So we talked about this area right here as resistance, and you can see like we perfectly got resistance there, and we came back down. So I mean, if I can back up what I'm saying, that's probably the most recent thing that we really were looking at as resistance right there. So if Bitcoin does find support at these levels that we're talking about right now, 6,400, or even this previous bottom right here, if Bitcoin gets support and we get a bullish bounce, right? Like, so if we get a bullish bounce off of here, I'm still really looking at, and I'm, you know, not even so much the 50 EMA. I'm still really eyeing this previous lower high that we just made as the next area of resistance. So that's $1,000 away. That's $7,400. So if Bitcoin gets some volume and makes a move up, I think I don't think the 50 EMA area is going to be too big of an issue for us to break. However, this is like the key area to look out for at the $7,400 area. It's basically that previous lower high, and it's also that it's really confluent with the 200 EMA right here. So very big resistance area in terms of the bulls really making a breakthrough and finally forming a bottom. So that's really the area you want to keep an eye on. Litecoin, kind of same thing in terms of on the downside, we need support at really critical areas. One thing you can see, which is pretty synergistic with what Bitcoin's doing, is you take the length of this wedge here. Since we got the break in the wedge, what's next? Like, what is our target on the downside? What are the shorts targets? Well, you can see it right here in this orange line. Really paints a nice picture of that. And you can see how that length of that line, of that wedge, takes us right into that bullish support area. So that bullish support area, you can see on Litecoin, if we continue down, takes us anywhere from like 4 to 11% on the downside, right? So if we go back to that Bitcoin daily chart, and it's really important to compare the two because, you know, all the altcoins really follow Bitcoin. So you can take that on Bitcoin daily chart and you can say, well, where's 4%? 4% is that $6,100 support area that we just talked about. And then for Litecoin, 11% is really the bottom of this wick. So it's that channel that Bitcoin would be testing for that triple bottom area of support, which could be bullish support. Same thing for Litecoin, 4 to 11% on the downside. Could be a nice entry if you have a little bit more risk tolerance. That channel right here could be a nice entry. $50 in my perspective is obviously a great accumulation area. Beings, it's, you know, pretty much the length of this wedge, but really on the lower lows target, what I have for, and you can see from where we are right now, we have $45. It's probably maybe $45, $47, 18% on the downside. What's that look like for Bitcoin? Well, we can see where Bitcoin is now. What does that 18% look like? Is that what I said? It was 18%? 18%, $45. So Bitcoin daily, 18%, probably the worst case scenario, $5,200. And you can see from the 200 EMA, $5,200 right now would be 30% overextended. So everybody knows that's a huge, huge accumulation area for me. And it's really in my channel. If you've been watching my videos for a while, as we talked about the downside, even, you know, even amidst coming up here and up here, even at those $8,000 to $10,000 levels, we talked about the possibility of a sub $5,000 Bitcoin. I think I've mentioned I don't think it's going to happen, but if it does happen, if we get to sub $5,000 or even sub $5,500, it's, for me personally, a huge accumulation area for me. At these levels, I still don't know if we're going to get there, but that's like the buy the dip to the extreme. It's an awesome area for me personally, and it's something I'm watching for, and it's also why I do these technical analysis, because I kind of want to keep an eye and see. I want to see support at these areas now to get a sense of, all right, is this like looking weak? Where are we? And so we'll find out what happens next, but we have to keep an eye on it. We have to do technical analysis to be ready to buy that dip, because you all know that's my approach to the market, is buying the dip. Something I want to point out on the weekly, which is really important. This kind of makes technical analysis a little bit more difficult. When you have the stock RSI, I mean, really on any time frame, but since I do a lot of technical analysis zoomed out on the charts, right? I do a lot of technical analysis on the longer term, because I'm really not concerned with trading. I don't trade a lot. I trade other altcoins, and I don't really document that at all. But Bitcoin and Litecoin, I just accumulate. So I'm always doing longer term technical analysis, it seems. So if you look at the RSI, and anytime the stock RSI or the RSI is like in the middle, right? We're not in the peak, we're not in the valley. It makes technical analysis that much more difficult. It just does. And it really, especially on the shorter term stock RSIs, when you have this bouncing around and these fake outs like you see on the screen on an oscillator, it's like a trader's worst nightmare, because there's so much uncertainty. It's so easy when you have especially like, we can even take the stock RSI on the weekly Bitcoin chart, for example. It's really easy. It doesn't take even like technical analysis professionals to do this. You just get TradingView, you get the stock RSI, and you can go back and look at Bitcoin. But the stock RSI on the weekly, longer term chart, if you would have sold some Bitcoin, right? Even if you wanted to do like a mid to short term play, every time it was like in this overbought area, you'd be catching these dips, because it's so much more it's so much easier to predict or even really be prepared for a pullback when it's that overbought on a weekly chart, because a weekly is a longer term move. And so when we're overbought on a weekly, it's way easier to sit here and be like, there's a really good chance we're coming back down. And you can just simply, you can open up a stock RSI, you can open up the charts, and you can just see, all right, I'm gonna sell. What if I sold at the top here when this RSI in real time was at this peak, right? Like just about to touch 100 on the stock RSI. Well, look at this. All right, you're gonna have some self-control and not FOMO, and you're gonna actually sell because the stock RSI alone. I mean, you see this pullback from that high. We're talking like 30, 38, almost 40% pullback just because you followed the stock RSI weekly. So anytime you have, you're in the peak area or you're in a valley area, very easy to anticipate and really start talking about and digging into a bullish scenario or a bearish scenario. So like back here was pretty easy to start talking about a bullish scenario. We were way oversold on the weekly stock RSI, and we got some awesome gains. But look what happened now. And this is, and long story short, this is the picture of what consolidation on an oscillator looks like. It's when it stops going from like oversold to overbought to oversold to overbought, but it actually just like starts wiggling around right in the middle of the oscillator. And that is an extremely unknown place to be. And it really on the weekly just started happening in like mid-August. So it gives a perfect example of how unsure this market is right now. So if I could like highlight anything from this video, it is to right now be extremely, extremely careful, because we're going one way or another. And I think whatever move it does actually choose, whether it's up or down, I think it's going to be fairly strong. And I think it's going to either take us quite high on the oscillator on the upside peak or quite low on the valley. The quite low on the valley is simply going to mean we break crucial support and we see new lows. That might be the thing that really spurs depression and people giving up, because I could see that happening. A lot of people right now are thinking, you know, this doesn't look too bad, but if we break down and we see this oscillator on the weekly going down into the valley area, we might see some depression. But this right here, I mean, we've been building up to this moment possibly for all year long. We've been doing these videos. This would be the ultimate buy the dip area. This would be the ultimate buy the fear area. This valley right here. I would not mind doing a video when we get into this area on the weekly, if we get into this valley on the weekly stock RSI. If we get into the peak area, that's when we're going to start. I mean, in my opinion, it's going one way or another quite soon. We're going to break out here one way or another quite soon. If we head in the direction of a peak in the stock RSI, then I think we will most certainly be breaking previous lower highs and testing this $10,000 area. And I could see something like that happening by, you know, maybe November timeframe. So it's either going to be a very, very depressed winter, or it's going to be a pretty bullish, fun winter. And I don't think it's going to be a boring one. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't think we're going to be trading sideways for too much longer. I really don't. So be prepared. I mean, at the end of the day, you can only take this information in. I can only take this information in. Maybe go sit down with Sarah, talk about where we are and how much more money we want to invest, right? And analyze our risk tolerance, because everybody's different. Like, people can be buying right now and accumulating massive amounts, even with the possibility of going to like $3,000, and they're fine with it. They could care less and they're cool with it, and that's a great place to be. They're not spending more than they can afford to lose, and they're just accumulating because they're long on Bitcoin. I probably lean more in that area. I'm not saying I'm purchasing like massive amounts right now, but definitely accumulating in these areas. Massive amounts for me is like I've been saying, sub 5,500, sub 5,000. That's massive amounts. So that's where I'm at. And then lastly, Poseidon Lou with the $9.99 super chat. Thanks, my bro. One more week and I'll be hanging out with Poseidon Lou. I'll literally be hanging out with Poseidon Lou. I don't even know what to say, man. Appreciate that. Tups, thanks for coming by, man. I saw you in the chat. Appreciate you coming by. You have an awesome night. Charisma91 says, don't sit on the fence, lad. Don't sit on the fence. I wouldn't sit on the fence. I agree with that. Never good to sit on the fence. So we'll end out this technical analysis. I just wanted to touch on the Litecoin Bitcoin pair. I don't really talk about it that often. But KSEP Eagles, they did win. They did beat Atlanta. I'm pretty hyped. So I think LTC BTC pair is soon going to see some more short-term downside, negative 10% plus, lasting a couple days, and then bam, Litecoin will begin regaining ground on Bitcoin. Completely my opinion. Like, when I look at LTC BTC charts, it's just completely my opinion. It's what I see happening possibly. I really see this area right here as pretty solid support. Even if we like capitulated on the short term, you know, this is the daily chart, so it gives you a good idea of what it could actually look like if it happened. But like, you know, a move down like this, even if it was like through this for a brief amount of time, is kind of what I'm anticipating. That's kind of what I'm thinking in terms of LTC BTC pair. But from there, I truly believe Litecoin is going to really gain its strength back. And I also think, you know, rather quickly, we're going to be testing this area again, right up here. So for Litecoin, on the Litecoin Bitcoin pair, that, I mean, really means even from these levels, testing that area is, you know, 170 plus %. And so right now at these levels, you see how Litecoin has kind of remained strong. Maybe one more wedge down before we go up. But right now, Litecoin's kind of looking like it's going to bounce back. In my opinion, listen, I could be wrong. I mean, we could just Litecoin could just completely bomb, right? We can break this really, really important support area, and we can just kind of keep going down. I don't think that's going to happen. So that's my technical analysis, and that's my live stream for today. Anybody that was here, you're awesome. I appreciate it. I see some comments, and there are some people that don't like live streams, and it's hard for me to see that because I like doing it, and I always want to please everybody, but I guess it's impossible. This is just really helpful to me now that it's 7. I told Sarah we'll leave at 7, and then look at that, we can leave like at 7 because I don't have to edit. So appreciate all you guys for coming by. Let me know your thoughts if you're a replay viewer about how you're feeling, because this chart, this stock RSI right here is looking depressed. It's looking unsure. I'm thinking it mimics most people in the market today. So Jacob Chadwell says, keep up the live stream. Corey likes the live streams. Sweet. That's what I'm talking about. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Gonna do my best to give you guys like some good quality live streams when at the summit. I just have to make sure I have a good setup, good Wi-Fi, and that's it. Everybody, hang in there. I mean, I'm gonna end. I haven't ended a live stream really by doing this, but let's do it. Ignore my ugly drawings. Let me remove the drawing tools. Look at that. That's zoomed out on the daily. You are here early. We are the music makers. We're the dreamers of dreams. Litecoin Moses said it perfect. Imagine a $40 trillion market cap and being able to say you were here when it was 200 billion. I'd say everybody in the stream is able to say that. People will think you're lying, but you have a Twitter feed to prove it. So make sure you go get a Twitter feed. Make sure you zoom out on the charts, because it really does put everything into perspective. Everything's looking solid. The market's looking solid. I had a call with Bitcoin Exchange startup that I'm working with. They're one of my clients. They're looking solid. The space is looking awesome. Believe in the tech. I'd say go long. If I'm going to give it any advice, that would be it. It's not financial advice. It's just solid advice. Stick around. That's all I'm saying. Appreciate all you guys watching. Time for me to go have some dinner. You're awesome. So grateful for all of you all. And as always, I will definitely see you in the next video. And God bless.